what your strategy should be like, and any tradable ideas, if yes, in the markets. Let's try to find out all of that with whole host of experts joining us on the show. We are being joined by Rajat Sharma as well as Arpit Beriwal is also with us, and Akshay Bhagwat, Senior Vice President Derivatives of JM Financial, is also with us in the show. A very good afternoon, gentlemen, and thank you so much for your time. And Akshay, let me come to you first to have your take on the benchmark indices. A bit of a recovery for Nifty Bank coming in. What do you make out of it? And Nifty sustaining above that 25,000 mark. Should this be taken positively?
Good afternoon. So yes, it's a choppy trading session since yesterday because we managed to hold a psychological 25K mark, but today on the weekly expiry day for the index, things have turned again topsy-turvy. You have had some bit of intraday selling right from the opening bells, and again the question arises whether 25,000 stands defended or not. So the sense is, looking at the last 3 to 4 days short-term trading action, Nifty is trading in a range. The upper end of the range will be 25,250 basis spot, and the support zone works around 24,900. So the current level, that it's more of a neutral short-term setup. There is no trading idea at the current level, at least in the Nifty index, and it makes a lot of sense to wait for those dips at 24,900, 950 zone to take a buy trades from a short-term trading perspective. Moving on to the bank Nifty, yes, a lot of PSU banks in the last 1 hour have got some momentum pickup post the Canara Bank results. That's why you have Bank Nifty also showing some recovery in the second half of the day. But again, the level of 57,300 is a mighty hurdle for short-term traders for Bank Nifty. 56,700 is the support. Again, a neutral setup in Bank Nifty, but out of the two indices, if I were to bet on any index on the buy side, it has to be the bank index from a short-term trading perspective.
Right, so that's the Nifty Bank where Akshay is seeing a conviction right now. But Rajat, hi, good afternoon. Give us your sense on the entire PSU end of banks right now, because given how beaten down they have been over the last couple of trading sessions, that trend has reversed already. That was a quick turnaround from Nifty PSU Bank, and it's a top sectoral gainer today. Do you believe this is only because some profit booking has happened and now the sentiments are back, or do you believe there is a deeper fundamental upside to Nifty Bank right now?
Good afternoon. I think the reason for PSU banks doing well would probably be because of the way private banks have declared their results. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I think banking as a sector, it's without a doubt one of the best places to be because it's not made its move. And personally, I think banking is one of the best sectors right now with where interest rates have come down to. For the next 2-3 years, this is one place where you should not be investing. You should have your investments there. I personally prefer private sector banks. I think PSU banks may be moving because there is a bias towards PSU banks after, Axis Bank's results, which increased provisionings a lot. Similarly, HDFC did not have very good results. ICICI was an exception in the large private sector space. But, if you look at the results more deeply for private sector banks, there's a reason why I prefer those over public sector banks. From a historic valuation perspective, PSU banks are overvalued. Private sector banks are actually undervalued. You have a Axis Bank, which is now after its results trading at a valuation of, a multiple of around 9. And most of what they've done is they've cleared their books, which, puts them at a very good spot to benefit from the next up move. We're right around there. The slippage that they had was more technical to do with the norms that they changed, and it's essentially just the higher provisioning which has led to the correction in Axis Bank. Otherwise, if you see their loan deposits, it's grown 9 to 10%. Same for ICICI Bank. So personally, I like private sector banks. In fact, it's the banks which have fallen, Axis Bank and HDFC Bank, which are the banks which I like more right now compared to PSU banks. So those are the banks I'm looking to add.
Looking to add the larger end of banks, that's the word coming in from Rajat. But Arpit, hi, good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us. What are you making of the charts of Coforge as well as Persistent Systems today? Deep cuts coming in about 7 to 8% on both of these counters on the back of poor results. Given the kind of cut we've seen already, what kind of pattern are you seeing on the charts, and what's your price outlook?
Very good afternoon to all. If you talk about overall the Nifty IT index has been one of the most underperforming sector from last couple of weeks. So whether it was the earnings post TCS or whether the mid cap IT counters, and especially talking about Coforge and Persistent first, so definitely both the counters have seen deep cuts of almost 10% today. And looking the chart setup wise, generally Coforge was one of the most trending counter from last couple of weeks, but somehow on the weekly and the monthly setup, definitely some pause is seen at the higher levels. And looking at the chart setup wise, Coforge already corrected almost 8 to 10%. I think the next support zone will be around 1600 levels for Coforge. Now talking about Persistent, so Persistent has been broadly trading in a range, but today also it has seen deep cut, almost 7 to 8%. So chart setup wise for Persistent, it's a broader range between 5000 to 5550 levels. Overall, look at the setup wise, it's better to wait for the mid-cap ITs and the IT sector as a whole, because looking at the chart setup wise, still underperforming, and in spite of this there is no recovery, so it's better to wait and look for the opportunities in the other sectors that are relatively stronger, and as soon as we see the intensify of selling pressure reduce, then only we can add this quality counters at lower levels going forward.
Okay, so that's the take on Nifty IT and some of these IT counters that are tanking away in today's trade.